Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jasper Poos, and I'm honored to be the chair of the RegTech Association. And I've been involved since it started in 2017. Together with the board, the advisory committee, and of course the executive team, we help steer the ship for the RegTech industry to realize a global center of excellence for RegTech. And not only in Asia Pacific, but we have these events also over the rest of the world, and soon we're going to organize one in UK, Europe, and our US programs. But since this event is coming to you from Australia today, I would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the traditional owners of the land from which I'm addressing you today, and offer a warm welcome to any Indigenous people online. And of course, I offer a same welcome to everybody and our ever-increasing number of members and friends from over 25 nations that have registered today. The program that follows will feature some world-leading speakers, all speaking to protect people. But we don't stop there. After our many conversations with regulators during this year, we will also be sharing some insights about what's keeping them awake. And that ranges from cyber to Gen AI, ESG, data reporting, fin crime, fraud, and scams. The theme of protecting people has been chosen not just because it is nice, it sounds nice, and it's trendy. It's because we fundamentally believe that RegTech and SupTech provide the ultimate protective armor to ensure systemic stability, inclusion, customer protection in an ever more digital world. And the data collected by the RegTech Association has pointed to a remarkable increase in engagement by regulatory agencies towards RegTech. 80% of the regulators we surveyed said that they've onboarded a solution in the last 12 months. And financial institutions are very focused on protecting their customers, in particular around data and privacy. With the growing number of frauds and scams, there's even a bigger need for great technology to help ward off the bad actors. And in fact, institutions are now saying that the number one motivation to adopt RegTech is based on their customers' expectations. So for RegTech and SupTech vendors, they're in a good position. They are experiencing growth in difficult economic markets. They have experienced an improved inflow of capital, but scale and assessing the right markets is still an ever-increasing challenge. Happily, this is where the RegTech Association has found its purpose. By making RegTech solutions accessible to the global markets, we bring the ecosystem together, the buyers, the sellers, and we elevate the conversation about RegTech. And with that, we rise the tides for all boats to benefit. And please, don't forget to stay online until the end of today's program, because we've got 3 exciting startup RegTechs presenting to you. And that will give us some energy, some inspiration, and a peek around the corner of what lies in the future when it comes to RegTech product development. I also want to thank our sponsors for their support for our series. And now I want to introduce you to Deborah Young, our CEO. Deborah is our founding CEO and established the RTA as a force for RegTech across the world. She drives our vision of creating a global center of excellence for RegTech. And in her capable hands, I leave you now. So thanks again all for joining us today. And thanks, Deborah. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Jasper. Very nice words. Thank you. But before I introduce our first speaker, I wanted to let you know that today we are recording this webinar, and it will be distributed to all of the registered attendees and made available via our YouTube channel. And while we won't have time for Q&A in the sessions because of the rapid fire nature of this program, what we are asking you to do is please contribute any thoughts or ideas that you have via the chat. We will be polling at the end, and I'd really appreciate it if you could fill in the quick and dirty poll at the end, because that really helps us improve the sessions for next time. And my team will also be putting, you might have seen there's already a report being put in the chat. We're going to be putting in some links and some reports in the chat as we go through today. But my main job today is actually to keep us on time. So if any of my speakers that are to come see my face come up on the screen, it means that you have gone over your time, and I'd appreciate it if you would wrap up. Thank you very much. So echoing Jasper's comments from a minute ago, we're really pleased to bring you this program, and this is the first in a series of a three-part series for APAC. There will be 2 face-to-face events, which will be held in Sydney in a few weeks' time. But I really wanted to underscore this increased engagement that we are seeing from regulators and central banking agencies. And it's in the spirit of this that it's my great pleasure to invite to the virtual podium Maha El Dimachki from the Bank for International Settlements, who heads up the Innovation Hub in Singapore. Maha has had a keen interest in observing and participating in the many exciting changes that are unfolding in financial services, innovation, and in the fintech environment. Prior to her current role, Maha was the head of department for early and high growth oversight, leading the Financial Conduct Authority's response to the Khalifa review of fintech. I had the pleasure of meeting Maha recently as she is taking up the reins of her new position, and I'm delighted to have her give the keynote with us for us today from Singapore, and to share a little bit about the Hub's work and also some of her insights around why protecting people is at the core of the work being done. Welcome to you, Maha. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Deborah and Jasper, for the kind invitation to deliver this presentation, but also for your kind words. It's a real pleasure to be here today. I think Jasper mentioned the use of technology by central banks and regulators and supervisors. It's been growing exponentially. And we know that many regulators around the world are either considering or already implementing technology to help them discharge their public duties. And we tend to call that SupTech, although I would say that's just for ease of referencing. I think it all falls within the RegTech banner. We also know that many regulated entities are looking at how to use technology to meet their compliance and regulatory obligations. So it's sort of 2 sides of the coin that when you look at consumer protection that need to kind of be balanced. So we're seeing RegTech and SupTech solutions emerging for a wide range of regulatory focus areas, such as consumer protection, the topic of this session. Although given consumer protection tends to be a key objective for most regulators, you know, a lot of their work revolves directly or indirectly around consumer protection, making it such a wide topic and an important one to cover. So examples of consumer protection policies include things around fraud detection, know your customer, KYC, countering the financing of terrorism, CFT as we know it, conduct and prudential risk management, and you know, looking at achieving real-time risk alerts on things such as financial promotions, and the list goes on really. So it's a really big topic. RegTech is a big topic. I have less than 10 minutes now to talk to you about this. So I'd like to make it a bit more concrete and share a couple of sort of angles where RegTech features as a theme in our work at the BIS as well as at the BIS Innovation Hub. So I'll start by quickly introducing the BIS Innovation Hub. For those of you who don't know, we run innovative projects in partnership with central banks around the world in areas where there is a need to improve the financial system using new technologies. So we have 7 centres around the world and we focus on 6 key themes. And you can see those themes there. Obviously, one of the key themes is SupTech, RegTech, and what we call monetary policy tech or policy tech. And that tends to be a theme in its own right, although RegTech crosses over multiple themes in our view. So the categorization is for ease of referencing. But for example, we need RegTech in financial market infrastructure. We need it in cybersecurity or in green finance. And in fact, one of our projects, Project Aurora, which sits under FMIs, leverages data technology and collaboration to improve AML while maintaining data privacy and information security. And I think we're going to share the link to Aurora with you in the side chat. Project Mandala is one that we run out of the Singapore Centre that sits under CBDC theme, but actually looks at streamlining and automating compliance checks for cross-border transactions. So again, I invite you to visit the website. There's a lot of information there, but we'll share some of the links with you in this chat. But today, let me share a couple of specific examples with you. One on how AI is used in central banking, not only in supervision activities, but financial market infrastructure, monetary policy, and information gathering. And another example of how we use RegTech and green finance in the Singapore Centre here. So you can see here financial services more generally, but actually central banks in particular, have been using AI techniques for a while already. In fact, we consider AI in central banking as sort of the outgrowth of statistical and economic techniques. It doesn't necessarily follow the same assumptions as statistical modelling, as we've noted in the past, but and AI tends to be more powerful than statistical tools. But the point is that it's not unfamiliar to central banks. And we do know that central banks and regulators are looking at the uses for AI to help them perform a number of their functions. You can see some of those on the slide there. So when we look at information collection or information gathering, central banks and regulators rely extensively on data to perform their functions, and they can get their hands on more data than ever these days. So that's not the issue. It's not the issue of obtaining it. It's really getting high quality, accurate representative data that allows them to use it to identify correlations, trends, or outliers, which in turn helps them to get more insights, timely insights, and make more timely judgments. And this is where the use of AI comes in. On the macroeconomic and financial analysis to support monetary policy. So monetary policy, as we know, a key function of central banks. Again, they want to be able to process vast amounts of structured and unstructured data to support in their monetary policy decisions, and things that are much more timely. So the concept of nowcasting is big on the agenda of many central banks around the world. Then with the oversight of payment systems, I think this is a very obvious one. It's one that we all are familiar with: mitigating financial crime, money laundering, scams, cyber attacks, and there's a lot of interesting projects that we're running actually in this space. I mentioned Project Aurora. We also have Project Hertha out of our London centre, which uses AI tools to detect illicit activity, looking at network analytics in the payments chain. So there's a direct consumer protection angle and market integrity element to a lot of this work. And of course, an obvious one I've already mentioned is supervision and financial stability, and the ability, again, to combine structured and unstructured data to present to supervisors in a dashboard that allows them, or some sort of tool that allows them to make timely decisions or interventions that will support their goals around consumer protection and market integrity. And regulators such as the FCA actually use these tools to detect misleading financial promotions, for example, ensure that they take these financial promotions down quickly. So this leads me neatly actually to one of our projects that we developed here in the Singapore Centre, which really develops that tool or platform for supervisors to use data in a forward-looking way. We call it Project Ellipse. So this is my second illustration of SupTech work that we do in the BIS Innovation Hub in the Singapore Centre. It really revolves around the green finance space, but it started with laying the foundation of how do we work with data and support supervisors in that with Project Ellipse, as I mentioned. Then we looked at how do we bring more information in the climate risk space for supervisors to be able to assess climate risks against their firms. Project Viridis was then our second project, and the Project Viridis will be published in the next couple of months, so we can certainly share that link with you once the report is out. But it takes structured and unstructured data, it combines it with regulatory reporting to present via a dashboard climate risk exposures of firms to their supervisory teams. But then we found that one of the biggest challenges with tackling climate risk is the lack of quality, consistent and measurable data. So we had to be creative with how we close the gaps, and a group of central banks came together to establish the Network for Greening the Financial System, the NGFS directory. And as the name suggests, it's a directory where you can find climate data. And we've been asked now to actually make that more user-friendly, much more innovative, and something that will be fit for the future in terms of finding, being able to obtain and find climate data. Now, Project Ellipse also inspired the creation of a collaborative community of central banks and regulators, which we fondly call the EDKP community, which stands for Ellipse Data Knowledge Platform. And this is where we facilitate collaboration amongst the community. At the moment, climate risk is a big topic of ours, where we look at certain use cases. A new one that we're considering is the use of digital twin. Or digital twins to explore how do we simulate sort of climate risk. And this is going to be a topic of an upcoming tech sprint of the EDKP community that will be running here in Singapore. The other great thing about the collaboration community is that it gives us horizon scanning for future projects that are really relevant to the market and the needs of the community. So I think I'm running out of time, but in conclusion, I've only got 10 minutes. It's such a vast topic. I really wanted to highlight how it's important to us to share our work with you and to share our work further afield, because there's really a symbiotic relationship between SupTech and RegTech if we kind of define them in those ways, right? And it's important because, you know, innovation and advancements in SupTech can help guide the direction of RegTech solutions and vice versa. But as SupTech continues to evolve and improve the efficiency and effectiveness of supervisory processes, RegTech can take cues from these developments to streamline that sort of regulatory compliance and regulatory reporting. And if they work hand in hand, we create a more harmonized and efficient financial system, or a financial ecosystem, I should say, where innovation and compliance go hand in hand. I've always advocated that that's important. The advancements in one can inform and inspire progress in the other. And effectively, that leads to a more robust, resilient, and future-proof financial system where consumers and businesses alike actually benefit. So I hope this has given you kind of a concrete illustration using two practical examples of the importance of RegTech. I think the role of RegTech will only continue to grow, considering, you know, we're in an ever-growing sort of digital economy and new technologies are always coming to the fore. I'm going to stop there before Deborah comes on screen. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a fantastic session today, and I look forward to the future sessions.
Thank you for being with us, Maha. Thank you so much. I'll do a little bit of a summary right at the end, and we put some of your links up on the chat. Thank you. It's my great pleasure now to be joined by Anna Wallace from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We've been delighted to work with the foundation in particular on a specific project in Indonesia, as well as we have had Anna in the past speak at a number of our forums about their work. And it may surprise some people on the line that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is so passionate about RegTech and SupTech. And so we're going to talk a little bit with Anna today about why they believe it's critical to consumer protection. And so let's get underway. Anna, it's very early in the morning in the UK, so we really do appreciate the fact that you're with us. So thanks. So I might just kick off by asking you if you could just briefly introduce yourself and give us a bit of an idea of your background, and then a little bit about your role at BMGF.
Yeah, hi everyone, and echo Maha's comments of being delighted to be here. I think the RegTech Association do such a great job, and you do, Deborah in particular, of bringing what is a very complex ecosystem together to talk and to really be at the vanguard of that. And I want to talk later about the kind of evidence base as well that you create that just keeps us all in check, you know, and keeps it moving forward as well. But yeah, I'm Anna Wallace. I'm Senior Programme Officer for Financial Consumer Protection and Regulatory Technologies at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It was a strange move. I had 20 years in the public service before then. At the end of that, leading innovation at the Financial Conduct Authority, and it's great to see Maha still driving the innovation charge from a different entity, and I think from a bigger platform as well, which is absolutely fantastic. And really, at the Gates Foundation, as well as driving innovation, which is a really big part of what the core of what the Gates Foundation are looking to do. What we're really trying to do is build financial systems that are inclusive and effectively manage risks by adapting response to emerging harm. So what we're really looking for is building trust in digital financial services, and I'll explain later why we care so much about that. And a real core focus for us are the lowest incomes, the poorest people in globally, but also ensuring that women don't get left behind. So really closing that gender gap that exists at the moment in terms of financial inclusion.
Sorry about that. As a former regulator.
Oh, sorry. Do you want? No, I didn't go on to the second question.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I jumped the gun. Go ahead. Sorry.
This is the problem. Everyone being around for our chats. I think everyone knows the Gates Foundation, right, for fighting
Yes.
global health issues, right? Some people might know about the toilet as well. That seems to get quite a lot of press, but really we are looking at inequity. That is the broader focus for the Gates Foundation. And also I think in terms of the areas that we look at, it's really broadened since the inception of the Gates Foundation, right? It started off with a 20 billion investment. It's now 9 billion that's an annual basis. We're something like the 8th or 9th biggest development organization globally. That includes countries and multinational agencies. So it really is it's a really huge force in the world of development. And I think our agenda has grown in ambition and also in breadth to reflect that. So even in the area that I work in, which is global growth and opportunity, which doesn't include any of the global health, you've got agriculture, digital public infrastructure, which I think for this group is going to be really exciting, taking us beyond things like digital ID and digital payments and really thinking about how to create a digital economy. And so that's going to be a focus for us. Global education, nutrition, water, sanitation, as I said, the toilet, and kind of how we do that, Deborah, and hopefully that the penny begins to drop for people. We are really looking at spurring innovation. We also try to help global cooperation where we can. Mostly we do that through generating high quality data and evidence. But we're also really interested in creating market incentives. For those of you that have followed the work that we do, we do work with private sector players to try to create the right incentives to work in emerging markets that might not be there already. And I think we have this, I find it really exciting that we have this opportunity to work in a kind of higher risk space than maybe like market participants or governments might want to. And we, with that philanthropic capital, we can learn lessons and we can share those lessons as well from the failures. And just to kind of bring that down into the RegTech SupTech space. So, Bill and Melinda have been investing in financial inclusion for a decade now, so this is not new for them. But in the last few years, they have been worried that kind of oversight of this huge growth in financial inclusion that you and I have spoken about for the last few years hasn't been matched with that effective compliance or monitoring. And so there does seem to be this period where unnecessary harm and kind of widespread harm is occurring in some of these emerging markets. So in terms of RegTech, what we're trying to do is we want to, create a body of evidence on the harms. I think we feel comfortable that we've got a good understanding of that, but we also want to really track progress, like you're doing on the RegTech. Okay, where are we making a difference? What's working? So that we can inform that future regulatory action or market practice and really kind of spur that. We also want to provide technical assistance capacity building to regulators. I'm sure this community know that they're not necessarily the easiest of customers. They've got a huge journey to cover as well in terms of understanding these emerging technologies, but also the risks as well. So we're working directly with those regulators to do that. But we also really want to boost the availability of SupTech. You and I, Deborah, have been talking recently about the lack of supply, and we think philanthropic capital that is willing to take risks and willing to see failure and not have the same kind of incentives that maybe private capital has to really drive the innovation and hopefully the adoption, which I think is something we're going to talk about. So it really, the work that we've been doing in global health, I think really applies here. And ultimately what we're trying to do is deliver better outcomes for the consumers of financial services and you know, and create a more sustainable financial system.
Yes, so that's fantastic. And what the segue from that and kind of with your background as a regulator is perfect for the next question that I have, because you might be interested to know that we collected some data late last year. We published a report which is in the chat if people would like to look at that, and we're also putting some of Anna's links in the chat as well if people are interested. But we've seen this incredible uptick in the engagement from regulators around the world. And so that is not only in their appetite and their interest in RegTech and coming along to sessions like this as an example, but we've actually saw this remarkable statistic. 80% of regulators that we surveyed have onboarded a RegTech or a SupTech solution in the last 12 months. Now, unfortunately, what I don't have there is any indication of developed or emerging economies in that number. But suffice to say, if this is actually happening, this is actually good news, I think, but it's sending out a clear message, I think, to financial institutions around the world that regulators are gearing up right now. And I'm just wondering whether you have any comment about those remarkable statistics, and whether you're seeing, you know, any particular traction from some of the emerging and developing nations that you've just spoken about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, you know, I'm pleased that this tipping point seems to have been achieved, because I think our observations, and that's not just in emerging markets, and it's in many of the more advanced markets, is there seems to be a kind of paralysis in this experimentation phase. And whilst it can prove very efficient, if overdone, everyone's just spending their time going round in circles. So I'm really pleased that, and we need to learn from how we, you know, from those regulators, not just from the RegTech. This is not incumbent on the RegTech as like community to explain to everyone why this happens. We need to hear from the regulators that have done this. You know, how did you manage the risks? How did you manage, you know, you've been measuring things like that, the procurement pathway. How have you reduced that to a point that it works on both sides? Because I think, our observation is that there lacks the strategy and roadmap to really go from experimentation to adoption. But I also think there's some work that needs to be done, and I'm really pleased Biz Innovation Hub are here today and all the work that they've done. But regulators are, you know, they all want to be special. They all want to be different. You know, that kind of mentality is not going to support the benefits of RegTech and SupTech that we could see. It's just not a viable market. So we need to try and homogenize as much as possible, and whether that be through standards, whether that be through, you know, we've worked with Cambridge to try and get more than one regulator to work together on the development of solutions. Yes, we all need small adaptions. You know, we all need them. We all want them, but too many makes the SupTech market significantly less attractive than the RegTech one. And there's no point in having a bunch of compliance at the firm level, or as Maha says, maybe that's not even viable if we don't have the regulators bought into it. So I'm so excited. I want to learn more to see what we can do to scale that kind of success.
Fantastic. Now, of course, in true fashion, we're running a little bit late.
Of course,
I've been given a wind up. So I'm going to ask you a simple question, if you could answer that in less than 1 minute. We didn't get much to talk about APAC and the Indonesian program, but if anybody would like to reach out and discuss that, I'm sure that both you and I would be delighted to discuss it. But I wanted just in this last question to ask you about a crystal ball, if you were to bring out your crystal ball. And, you know, the world is coming closer together because of technology. I mean, where do you hope that we will be in 5 years' time? And can you give me that answer in less than 1 minute?
Look, I mean, I've exposed the problems, but you know, the Gates Foundation, we're impatient optimists. We want to operate in a space that no one else is operating. So this isn't crystal ball. These are goals. This is where we want to get to. We want the majority of low middle income countries to be using SupTech tools. That's what we want, and everything we do will be there to support that. We want to see the incidence of harm in emerging markets decline. We want to see it decline more for women than for men, because at the moment, unfortunately, they are suffering more. And we want to see 80% of adults globally having a trust in the financial system, and that's digital financial service players. So they're the goals we've set ourselves, and everything we do will be to drive towards that. So we're very firmly putting ourselves in the solution space, not in the, well, here's the problem, everyone, let's go fix it. We want to be an integral part of how we get to those goals.
That is a very fine way for us to conclude, and I love impatient optimists, because I just get called pushy, but actually I'm an impatient optimist. That's probably it. So thank you very much for being with us. I know it's early in London, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you very much. Yeah. And there's some links there in the chat, everybody. Thanks very much, Anna.
Thanks very much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce the moderator of our panel. I'm going to introduce you now to Peter Deans. Peter is an ex-Chief Risk Officer with many years' experience in financial services, and he now runs his own consultancy practice using a patented approach to risk management. He works with institutions and scale-up and startups alike, and Peter is also a board director of the RegTech Association, so knows us very well. He's going to moderate our panel this afternoon. Your only job now, Peter, is to keep it on time. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thanks, Deborah. And I did note you were giving yourself the wind up earlier on, so well done there. Look, it's fantastic just listening to that, to hear, I guess, that vision and ambition that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has, and that's very much, I think, powered a lot of the RegTech founder-led businesses since the association started, and it's been fantastic to see the whole community, whether it's the corporate community, the various players in the ecosystem, and obviously the regulators, and then the other parties such as the Gates Foundation, really being driven by that vision and ambition for RegTech. I've got 3 people joining me here on the panel for this short session this afternoon who I know share that vision. And I'll actually just ask them all to come on one by one. Joe Harper, who is from ASIC, recently appointed Executive Director, Digital Data and Technology. Joe, welcome aboard. Deb Algio, who's Director and Innovation at NAB and was previously Entrepreneur in Residence at Westpac, a dear friend of the RegTech Association, and is also a member of the Advisory Committee at the Association. Fantastic, Deb, that you could join us here as well. And then rounding off a bit of the regional flavour, Dmitry Kachalov, who, again, very much a friend of the RegTech Association from his previous role at EY, and did quite a lot of good work helping the association with its research. So thank you, everyone. We are under the pump, both in terms of the packed schedule we have this afternoon, as well as the 20 minutes that we've been allocated. Joe, I know you have a hard finish at 4:50, so let me start with you first of all. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your digital role at ASIC and what your priorities are?
Thanks, Pete. Look, my role, as you said, is a newly created role at ASIC. So as the Executive Director of Digital Data and Technology, I'm responsible for the overall strategic direction for enabling our vision to become a data-informed, digitally enabled regulator. And my role reports directly to the CEO, Warren Day, which shows the importance that ASIC's now placing in this area. So I think that's a really good thing. As I mentioned, my remit is really quite broad. It covers the day-to-day running of IT. It makes sure we remain cyber secure, supporting our external stakeholders in their digital interactions, delivering on government priorities, overseeing our digital transformation programs. But bringing all of this together under the one role has the advantage of us being able to step away from what's often traditionally quite a siloed approach to the way that digital delivery is done across multiple reporting lines. I've got 5 sort of current priorities at the moment, and we'll sort of talk a little bit more about the detail of those as you go through your questions. But largely, I'm making sure that I'm securing all of our digital assets. I'm buying down on our tech debt, which I'm sure many other organisations suffer from as well. Delivering on our government commitments, building our digital capability, and utilising data as a strategic asset.
No, it's fantastic. We've noticed, I think the research, which I know you're across, was that there's been a real shift in the last year or two where demand for RegTech solutions is coming more from customer side, whereas I think going back, certainly in the infancy of the association, it was more about helping with compliance for institutions. I mean, is that something and regulators are getting more interested in solutions that can deliver better customer outcomes. Is that something that you're sort of seeing in ASIC strategic plans and the work you do and your conversations more broadly?
Absolutely, absolutely, Pete. Look, many people on this call will be aware, they've heard me speak many times about our 7 target state ambitions that we have for what we would like to look like as a digitally enabled regulator. And those target states describe how we want to interact with our stakeholders and the capabilities that we need. But one of the 7 target states is specifically about RegTech and SupTech, and that's about saying that we support initiatives that help us to foster a fair and efficient financial system. And that's an absolute recognition that we can't do this on our own. So some of the ways that we're doing this and using RegTech, and as you rightly said, it's something that we're looking more and more closely at. But I'll give you sort of 2 examples. One is where we're using social meeting monitoring tools and data technologies, data visualization technologies and matching tools, so that we've been able to develop a really sophisticated modelling tool that proactively detects market misconduct, profitable and suspicious trading patterns, and it identifies connections between traders and potential sources of inside information. And it's using advanced RegTech type techniques to do this. This has been an absolute game changer for us. And I often say to my friends, I would not do any insider trading within Australia. We will catch you if you are inside trading. The tools we're using are so sophisticated. And I'm really proud to say that this particular initiative won an APS Data Award last year, which just sort of recognises that we are at the kind of that cutting edge in using it. The other one that I would just mention as well, given that the theme here is consumer protection, we have an investment scam and phishing website takedown service, which we introduced midway through last year. In the period of July 2023 to December last year, we took down over 3,500 investment scam and phishing websites. So that's 3,500 sites that were out there actively trying to take money off people. And this is absolutely part of our efforts to make sure that we're going to proactively be out there identifying investment scam phishing websites, take those sites down where we can, and make sure that we're trying to keep people as safe as we possibly can. And probably the last thing that I would mention is we also, and I think it fits in really well with our previous discussion, is about we can see that RegTech can absolutely help facilitate communication and collaboration between ASIC and our regulated population. And we're keen to look for any and talk to anyone about solutions that are going to enable us to support and facilitate the compliance of obligations for our regulated population.
No, it's fantastic, and you've almost answered probably my last question. Was I was just going to, I know people are keen to hear, like, how does ASIC find innovation, or how does it innovate? Does it look to other regulators? Does it look inside? Does it have a bit of a look at who we've got presenting at our pitch fests, or what's the way that innovation happens, or how do you identify good practices or new practices?
All of those things, Pete, all of the things that you have said. Look, we are, you know that we are a strong supporter of the RegTech Association, and so we attend a lot of the events. We speak at the events where we can, but we love listening to what others are saying at those events. We're a strong believer in listening to what others are doing. We have conversations with other government agencies, peer regulators around the world. We go to all industry events. These are all really good sources of information, as you said. We, like all organisations, are trying to wrap our head around all of the innovation that's happening at the moment, and we're all talking about AI. So we've been doing sort of some internal proof of concept type works to better understand the opportunities and risks around that technology. We're also working with the Digital Transformation Agency, where they're piloting co-pilot trials across the federal government agency. And the other thing that I would also mention, not so much for how we get our head around innovation, but also how those that have innovation ideas can come to us. Of course, we have our ASIC Innovation Hub, where we can provide informal assistance to businesses that are looking to use innovation and help them to regulate their way through the regulatory system.
That's fantastic. And I think the proof is in the pudding with the creation of your role at such a senior level, driving digital innovation. Look, thanks, Joe. And if you get the chance to hang around for the panel session at the end, much appreciated. If not, we appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you again. Turning now, changing gears to Deb Algio, again, Director of Innovation at NAB. Deb, again, maybe just continuing on with this question around this shift for the adoption of RegTech's now being driven by customer demand rather than regulatory compliance. Is that what you're seeing? And maybe just tell us a little bit of your thinking from a regulated institution perspective about prioritisation of where you're looking for RegTech solutions.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for having me. So even in the survey that you're referring to, Peter, it did actually showcase like 68% of the response said that customer focus. So it is a massive amount of us considering it from this perspective. In terms of a driving force and what we're sort of thinking about from a banking perspective or regulated entity perspective, I think it's safe to say the industry is very, very focused on improving customer safety and the security of their data. So a bank's duty really is to our customers. We have a duty to provide our customers with the safest, simplest, and most secure financial services solutions. So our customers are always going to come first in absolutely every scenario, and that it really is applicable to RegTech here. So my sentiments and my observations are very mirrored by the RegTech Association report. In terms of strategy for RegTechs and adoption by regulated entities, I guess a pearl of wisdom or something to consider that I've observed is RegTech is aligned with every piece of work that we are undergoing and we will undergo in the future. And what I've seen the best successes for RegTech and adoption is actually aligning with customer-focused projects. So that is, newly established or ones that are happening at the moment. So aligning yourself with these customer-focused projects rather than RegTech strategy in isolation. So a large part of it is thinking about it like a value chain. So I implore RegTechs to sort of think about it like that. From an innovation perspective, some examples of where I could see RegTech strategy and customer-focused strategy coming together is quite similar to some of the items that Maha had up on her screen just before. But it could be anything from experimenting in digital assets, but replicating and ensuring that digital assets experience is bank grade quality. So what we offer traditional finance assets at the moment could be building better customer onboarding experiences for the market. It could be finding the right use cases for technologies like generative AI. RegTech is involved in all of these customer-focused areas. So, thinking about it from the applicable legislation associated with these things to evaluating, detecting, and reporting on risks, to tracking and identifying fraud, all of that is applicable to these sort of thematic areas. So, I would implore RegTechs to embrace these mega trends that, customers are seeking adoption in, because we do want to provide them in the safest, most secure way. And we really do look to RegTechs to support us with that.
And very much just like that sort of approach to digitization is like not retrofitting RegTech solutions to existing product, service and processes. It's really being part of what is a transformation or as you said, a new business initiative. It's great to hear. We just touched on AI very briefly before. Do you want to maybe just give us the NAB or your personal perspectives on just generative AI, the opportunities? Been a lot of hype and the balloon is deflating a little bit. I think if you look at some of the commentary from the learned people in the US in the last couple of weeks, where do you think the opportunities are from a RegTech perspective?
Yeah, and before I jump into that as well, like generative AI is truly a hot topic, and it's not just for banking, it's across, many different industries. But from a RegTech perspective, or, people on the call, that is one of the areas that we look at in innovation. Other areas are fraud and scams, identity, climate or ESG, digital assets, payments. So, there's quite a plethora of thematics that we are solving customer needs and problems within. But let's use generative AI as an example here. So how I would look at Gen AI as a RegTech is I would look at it like there's a role in RegTech in supporting the adoption of these technologies. So how do we remove risks associated with adopting these technologies? And secondary, how do these technologies reduce risk? So I think about it in those two ways. And if I sort of think about the first area of removing risks in the adoption of these technologies, ultimately, when you are looking at these, testing, exploring these new technologies, there are new risks. There's new legislations or potentially no legislation, which is a challenge too. There's new skills and capabilities needed for managing and adopting these technologies. And all of this we need to consider because that's what creates these safe and secure products for our customers. So I would think about it like that. There's a huge role for RegTech to play in terms of, compliance with generative AI, the fin crime risks associated with generative AI, data and operational risks. So even when we're looking at exploring and implementing these technologies, there's definitely a role for RegTech there.
Yep.
And then on the other hand, just sort of quickly touching on, there's a real opportunity for RegTech to adopt technologies like generative AI. So like generative AI can actually, in theory, remove a lot of risk for regulated entities. So enhancing reg compliance, risk management, operational efficiency. I was reading about a use case where, you could create simulated environments for regulated entities where you're actually testing out reg changes, how they impact the business operations, and what are the strategies we can use to mitigate them. So yeah, definitely see some opportunities for RegTech at both sides of those.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And a lot of the RegTech solutions do go from A to B, which is part of a broader spectrum. And I think a lot of our members are looking, well, this can actually solve a problem we haven't been able to solve in an adjacency to what we're doing. Look, that's great. We might just, I think what we'll do is one more question and then I'll go to Dimitri and we will actually drop the panel given we're running a little bit late. We always like good news stories though, Deb. If you've got a good news RegTech story about what's been adopted and what's worked, we always like to finish on a high note.
Yeah, of course. I might approach it two ways because I know we have some startup pitches after this as well. So from an innovation perspective and then also from a NAB Ventures perspective. So it's through the media, Connect ID. So finding a way that our customers can actually verify their identity without disclosing their personally identifiable information. It's a big plus for our customers in retail, but also huge plus for business customers too. So ensuring that their customers are validated and they're working with the right safe people. On the other hand, some NAB Ventures activity, we do have a prerogative to invest in RegTech. Some of the investments that we've had to date, which actually do support, our end consumer customers and business customers, albeit indirectly through these businesses, would be businesses like Giora, businesses like Data Mesh, Banked, Amber Data, and BioCat. So, I would implore you to have a look at that portfolio. They're great examples of how, data and RegTech are really supporting customers.
That's fantastic and great to see the support again from NAB in both the RegTech as well as the innovation space. Thanks, Deb. I'll let you disappear from the screen and we'll spend the last 5 minutes with Dimitri Kachalov before I hand back to Deborah. Dimitri, thank you for your patience. You're a couple of hours behind us there in Singapore, so you're a little bit earlier. I didn't keep you waiting 2 hours. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your role at UOB? Really interested to hear, and I know a lot of the people on on the call will as well, and then we'll jump into, again, just a bit of your perspectives on the research.
Thanks, Peter, and hello from Singapore. So, look, my role at UOB is I lead the compliance technology team for the UOB Group. Our primary focus is on supporting the bank with capabilities around AML, KYC, sanctions, and associated data analytics and workflow capabilities. We're also a partner with our Line 2 risk teams to drive a greater level of innovation and increase the pace of change within the compliance technology function as well.
That's great. Thanks for that. Just again, the perspectives on the change in sort of demand for RegTech recently around customer, and perhaps we should probably acknowledge, I think there's some regional differences in approach to probably compliance more broadly. It is done slightly differently in some of the jurisdictions in Asia with, of course, a maturity curve, not just practices, but technology as well. Do you want to maybe just give us, I guess, a bit of a regional sort of lens on that sort of customer demand and any other differences you'd like to call out?
Absolutely. Look, from a regional lens, there's a much greater focus here on KYC and associated sort of processes around ongoing customer reviews. And that sort of goes, it's probably unsurprising given that Singapore is a regional hub and the integrity of the financial system here is absolutely vital to the economy and the overall sort of the country as well. Secondary to that as well, the regulators here and the major banks are quite willing to engage at an industry level and collaborate at an industry level as well. A recent example is something called Project Cosmic, which has been in the news for 12 or 18 months, which is effectively an industry intelligence sharing scheme where participating institutions share suspicious activity with the regulator in the interest of building a more complete picture of suspicious activity and joining the dots across the industry as opposed to just operating in those institutional silos. So they're probably the two key differences.
Yeah, obviously, as you said, always been a bit of a focus on financial crime and AML CTF, but with some of the incidents last year in Singapore, and I did write an article back in January on this, even more heightened focus, and the regulator expectations on what needs to be done is clearly lifted as well. Maybe just, we might just in the last few minutes talk about AI, and I'd be interested to just get your thoughts about, there's always a lot of talk about generative AI and AI. Just more broadly, what else do you think is ahead of us in the future for RegTech? What are some of the mega trends that you'd sort of call out and things to look out for? But maybe just the Gen AI one first, your perspectives on what you think will unfold for RegTech.
Yeah, it's a great question, Peter. And look, certainly, no doubt that Gen AI is a force, and it's one of the technology revolutions that is upon us. If you look at things like adoption of new technologies, in the late 1800s, it took the US 46 years to adopt electricity and roll it out in a widespread manner. In the 1990s, it took just 7 years for the World Wide Web to become, prolific as well. So we expect that kind of adoption curve and time to adoption to continue to reduce. In the compliance space, we need to exercise caution and proceed at pace with Gen AI. And what that means is continuing to invest in processes where humans are in the loop and we can control and review Gen AI outcomes. What that means is that not all compliance and risk processes are suitable for the rollout of Gen AI capabilities. Some are better suited than others. Those may include things like automated rule tuning and rule analysis capabilities, new searches on customers, automated alert generation, even automated investigations and collating of information relating to investigations. Also, alert management and managing high volumes of false positive alerts is another thing that we can apply Gen AI to as well. However, what that means until we can deploy Gen AI in a safe manner at scale, unleashing these capabilities on screening, on cost takeout in our compliance and risk functions as well, and doing so at scale, we must hold off on that until we have the right level of buy-in and the right level of risk assessment from our executive committees, from boards, and from regulators as well. So it's a case of being cautious, having humans in the loop, and proceeding with the full buy-in of stakeholders.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point, and Deb Algier touched on it as well, that what in theory today is not regulated and, you know, we'll call it legal for the sake of a better term, if you go pretty hard and invest heavily, change processes, you may find in a year and a half that you're not actually allowed to do it. So I think having a bit of certainty about what the future regulatory landscape may be in some of these areas certainly is a reason to be somewhat cautious. But I think, again, speaking to a lot of the RegTechs, I think they see generative AI as a way of really speeding up what is already a good solution. As you said, I think the alerts for financial crime and AML/CTF is a really good one. You know, there's been far more automation than what there was 5 and 10 years ago. Clearly, generative AI can speed that up in a fairly safe way because it's improving what is still an outcome which is not 100% perfect. Look, thanks, Dimitri. That's fantastic. Anything else you want to add just on any reflections on some of the other earlier panelists from this session?
Look, I like the comment that Deb made before, and just noting the customer-driven nature of compliance, as noted in the latest Industry Perspectives report. It's interesting how that has shifted in the last couple of years from being very much a regulatory-driven sort of activity and capability to now that's something that customers expect and probably demand in some ways. I think that we'll see the RegTech industry continue to go from strength to strength, being more customer-oriented and driven. And thank you for having me on today.
No, it's a great concluding remarks, and thanks again, Dimitri, for the regional perspective. And I'll just call Deborah Young back in. Deborah, I know this sort of echoes some of our sort of conversations at the association about, you know, 5-6 years ago we were trying to explain what RegTech was. Then we moved on to selling the benefits, and now we're moving on to how quickly can we adopt it and what more can we do for us. So it's been a great journey we've been on.
Yes,
thanks
indeed.
for inviting me to chair the panel, and I'll hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you very much to you for your time and expertise today, and also thank you to all of our panelists as well. Thank you for joining us. So I urge you to stay with us, because in some ways what comes next, and I know that our bankers will want to stay on the line to see what's going to unfold. So speaking of the future, we're now going to bring you 3 RegTech startup companies who are members of our association. And this program is a really important part of what we aim to do. And in order to accelerate adoption that Peter just mentioned, we've got to be able to raise awareness and be able to shine a light on some of these fantastic young companies solving some of these greatest challenges and burdens in compliance and regulation. And so today we're going to have a little bit of a showcase, which is going to show you the versatility of RegTech. And what is going to happen is we've got 3 companies. Each of them will have 5 minutes each to present the problem that they are solving. What's going to happen is at the 4.5-minute mark in their presentation, my image will come back onto screen, and that will be their cue to wrap up. So it is a 5 minutes tight each, and then I'll introduce each of them, and then I'll come back at the end to wrap up our session for today. So it is now my great pleasure to invite to the virtual podium with a camera and a mic on Fiona Long from Assuredly. Over to you, Fiona. I'm going to start your time now. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Hi, everyone. My name is Fiona Long. I'm the CEO and founder of Assuredly. I've been in the information security industry for over 20 years, and having spent a long time working for corporates, the last few years has taken me on a journey of entrepreneurship and innovation to try and solve some of the industry's biggest problems. And although today I'm going to show you our security assurance platform, we will also soon be launching AI assurance modules, as myself and one of my team have recently become 2 of the world's first 50 authorised IEEE AI ethics assessors. We're passionate about ensuring technology is designed not only for safety and security, but to support all of society's values. So imagine being asked the same question day in, day out. That's what our business owners and risk managers are experiencing, and I'm sure some of you are nodding your heads right now, being sent questionnaires from large companies that are unwieldy and intrusive, which they just don't know how to answer. We set out on a journey to help companies never have to answer a security questionnaire again. So for our business owners, the problems are that the security questionnaires are large, they're repetitive, they cost a lot of money to answer, and the volumes are huge. Take, for example, one of my clients who was asked 4,500 questions from 25 of their customers. And in those 4,500 individual questions, they will ask no less than 104 different ways how they conduct user access reviews. They don't have the maturity to do their own risk modelling and explain why they do and don't have certain controls in place. And as we know in the risk community, GRC models are required to explain when you can technically, operationally or financially implement a security control, why you can or why you can't. So processes need to be built. Customization is often hard work with the current GRC platforms out there. For our advisors, their requests for support is increasing in volume, and the advisors include cybersecurity consultants and MSPs. MSPs are looked to by many businesses to have security in place for their clients, and they don't know how to assess themselves and provide that advice to clients. There's a lack of skilled resources, and many only assess one or two standards, have the skills to do that. There's inconsistent outcomes, and we've all gotten used to what we lovingly term shelfware report. So Assuredly has been built to empower businesses, regardless of their size, to evaluate their cybersecurity resilience against a range of standards, while importantly ensuring that they're managing real risks to their business, and importantly be able to explain what they do to others when required. So for our business owners and risk managers in businesses, our solution allows you to assess your security controls against a range of standards. When you assess each control, you're given automated action plans if required. There's automated key findings that are fully written for you. You can access practical guidance with tools and templates at your fingertips. You get instant control, maturity and risk-based insights. All of our assessments come with a risk register. Whether you want to see how you measure up against a standard, you'll always get a risk register in the back and risk information. Our Business Pro account also allows businesses to assess the security of their suppliers. There's no customization required. There's no mapping of risks or controls. We do all the hard work for the businesses. And for our smaller businesses who are just starting out on their security journey, we've recently implemented a new standard called the SMB 1001, which was developed by an organisation called CSCAU and is managed by CyberCert. It's a dynamic security standard built specifically for businesses who are at the beginning of their security journey. So it's the first time you can get certified by doing your own assessment. Now, for our advisors, whether you're an MSP, auditor or cybersecurity consultant, you can manage your client's security maturity journey with ease in our platform. So you can assess your delivered technology or your client's businesses against many standards and frameworks and help them understand the right roadmap based on real risks that their business faces alongside their compliance requirements. You can provide consistent reporting over time and build trusted relationships. So the reason why our customers use us is because we are easy to use. Our platform's easy to use. It's value for money. There's no setup required, no fancy plugins or promises of automating their entire compliance program journey, only later to find out they still have hard work to do. We offer a simple guided process. Businesses create customised reports, up-to-date assessments, instant certification, and our advisors get to extend the types of assessments they offer the market, ensure they deliver consistent assurance services and build trusted relationships. So thank you for your time today. Hopefully you can contact us and to experience the Assuredly difference.
Thanks very much, Fiona. Well done. Well done. So it's now my great pleasure to invite Vinesh George from Automy to do the next presentation. I'm going to start your time now, Vinesh, and at 4 minutes 30, I will put my image back on. And if you could stay right on time, I'd appreciate that so we don't shave any time off for Gordon, who's after you. Thank you very much. Your time starts now. Thank you.
No worries. So at Automy, we are building the world's most advanced regulatory and branded artwork system for producers of goods. Now, at the base level, we are enabling speed to market with safety, and we aim to be the one global standard for all packaged products. Every product that sells will have packaging produced using the Automy system. Now, to look at the space, every single good, now it's a medical device, pharmaceutical product, food, alcohol, chemicals, agricultural, it needs compliant packaging artwork. The business itself, the design services, and the regulatory affairs space in this area is immense. Now, at its core, the story of Automy is a story of human impact and its causal effect on industry. With mislabeling, there is medical error impact, due to which regulators are quite strict in this area, and producers use stringent systems. However, human error is still possible. It takes a lot of time and a lot of cost. Now, instead with Automy, we're looking at a position where we'll have full governance and full compliance, along with autonomous artwork creation, no templates, no systems, a robotic process that actually creates the artwork without error. Now, the human equation here to build the system has been with a lot of senior players from Microsoft, ex-vice president of Microsoft, my co-founder, the ex-global head of data from Flight Center, cybersecurity lead from IBM, Stephanie, and a whole series of people who have come together to build what has not been built for the last 30 years in this space. Now, to understand this area, packaging and labeling is not only about regulation compliance. It also requires production requirements, brand requirements, design principles, and also distribution channel requirements. You get any of this wrong, and there's a massive recall, there's a massive problems. At the worst case scenario, even human fatality with getting the labeling wrong. Recalls themselves average out at USD 10 million. A national player that gets one product wrong and getting it recalled, there's a lot of waste that happens. Now, this gives an idea of the process that flows in this part of the supply chain. The product requirements are put together and it goes to an internal or external agency to build. It's built, goes into approval systems, regulatory, as well as marketing, and then finally gets produced. However, any mistake means weeks put back and forth, 2 to 6 months to get an artwork produced for a package that's already ready. Now, the autonomy solution is here. An end-to-end compliance system completely sconsed. It gets the information, verifies it, and puts it together to regulatory and marketing teams, has all the regulatory databases internally already there, and a core IP and autonomous artwork system that generates the artwork without any human intervention. Means 100% error-free artwork is possible. Now, for brand players, this is worth hundreds of millions of dollars per year. Look at the idea of a single product going to market months in advance. The revenue claim is possible. Now, the tech itself, when we say end-to-end compliance, it means we've got an intelligent rules database, an artificial design brain that actually creates the artwork, an information system, a digital asset management system, and verification traceability system. Our core IP, the artwork automation system, is based on robotics that is being done with Swarm AI, where the artwork compiles itself and contextually makes design decisions. Now, we've been blessed by research grants and by CSIRO and UNISW, as well as the industry PhD grant in tech. We are creating a regulatory language model to enable scaling of our regulatory tech, and also creating a design brain that understands design contextual notifications. Now, across the board, we are talking with players across multiple global areas. We are already in touch with Bayer, as well as skincare and cosmetic players. And we aim to go from Australia to Singapore and India, and as well as every regulatory environment. Our fees are quite structured based on the kind of environment we're going into, per regulatory environment, per regulatory tech. Now, Fast Studio is actually a production agency made of human entities that we've actually created that is using autonomy systems already. This allows us to safely test autonomy before complete implementation, specifically because regulatory and the model we are building is 100% compliance requirement. So this is where we are. The value is big. The scope is enormous. We are playing the long game of building something that has never been done before. 100% compliance and 100% artwork stability, so no medical impact. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Right on time. Thank you very much. One thing that I can say is that what we're seeing here is the real versatility of RegTech. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to hand over to Gordon from Gaia Lens. Are you coming to us from UK this morning, Gordon, or are you still in Australia?
I am, yeah. I'm in London, yeah.
Oh, you're in London. Okay, so early morning for you.
Early
okay,
morning, yeah.
All good. I'll start your time now. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gordon. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Gaia Lens. We are a AI-powered sustainability analytics platform for institutional investors and financial services companies. Our platform acts as a digital ESG analyst team, which automates ESG workflows such as reporting and saves our clients a significant amount of time. We launched the product in August 2022, and we already have over 15 clients around the world, including asset managers, asset owners, and a global financial services company as well. Today, I wanted to show you 3 use cases of our platform. The first use case being portfolio benchmarking. So we make it really easy for our users to upload all of their portfolios or funds onto our platform. They can then select a benchmark, and then within seconds, they can get to step 3 and see whether their portfolio is under or overperforming the benchmark. In this screenshot, in the furthest right one, we are showing our own Gaia Lens ESG scores. We have our own proprietary ESG scores that we calculate for over 20,000 companies. And our scores are real time, they're fully explainable and objective, meaning data driven. So along with your scores, you can benchmark your portfolio with respect to sustainability frameworks. you can instantly generate sustainability reports with respect to any framework of your choosing in either PDF format or Excel. Just looking at the SFDR regulation, so that's the table in the top right corner. This, which is a big area of focus in the EU at the moment, and it requires investors to report on over 50 different metrics at the portfolio level. And our clients spend on average 20 hours of manual work to create an SFDR report for just one portfolio, compared to using our platform, which creates it in seconds. Through using our automated reporting solution, one of our clients, who's a mid-sized European asset manager, saved over 2,000 hours of manual work per year and saved money by not having to hire additional ESG analysts. So moving on to the second use case, which is portfolio controversy detection. We have a best-in-class news processing system, which involves applying a sophisticated large language model to articles and tweets. So the LLM generates controversy scores for the ESG pillars and greenwashing controversy scores. Users can then subscribe to our controversy detection system, which will alert them when there is a controversy affecting any of their portfolio holdings. Users can upload as many portfolios or funds as they like, and they will receive just one consolidated email summarizing high-risk controversies across all of their investments per day. So moving on to the third use case, which is greenwashing risk assessment. We can combine the portfolio benchmarking and controversy detection workflows to assess the greenwashing risk of a portfolio or fund. If a fund is labelled as a sustainable fund, the investments must be aligned to its sustainability goals. Mitigating greenwashing risk has become increasingly important in the last couple of years, with some prominent asset managers being accused of greenwashing by regulators. For this example, we have loaded up a popular climate-focused fund. So here we can see that looking at step one, which is the scores benchmarking, the fund is broadly in line with the benchmark, so there's no red flags there. But moving on to step two, where we're looking at climate metrics, more specifically the TCFD metrics, we can see that the fund has red numbers, indicating that its numbers are much higher than the benchmark. And this raises a red flag for this fund because it's supposed to be a climate-focused fund versus a generic market benchmark. Here we're using MSCI ACWI. Moving on to step three, our controversy detection system has detected controversies surrounding the biggest holding of the fund, which is a company called Next Era Energy. And the real game changer of our LLM is that it provides a reason for these scores. So the reason is saying that the article is mentioning that this company continues to start fossil fuel projects and also is campaigning against renewable energy in Florida. So this is a red flag since this company is the biggest holding of the fund, and this directly contradicts the climate-focused goals of the fund. So this workflow helps our fund management clients identify passive breaches in real time. And this is actually an award-winning solution since the FCA gave us 2 awards at the end of last year for our greenwashing analytics solution. So I just wanted to finish very quickly by summarizing how we're different compared to legacy ESG providers. We take a completely different approach to traditional analyst-based, research-driven legacy providers, where we take a purely quantitative approach to ESG. That means that our solution is good value for money. We have real-time data. Our data is transparent and explainable, and we've built customizability into our offering in terms of scores, screens, and reporting. That brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and please get in touch if you want to know more.
Thanks very much, Gordon, and please feel free to Vinesh as well. Please put the link to your websites or how people can contact you in the chat. Thank you very much, and thanks all for being on time. So I'm actually now just going to do a little bit of a wrap up, but it'd be remiss of me to do that without acknowledging all of the fantastic sponsors that we've got. There is the first in the polls that you're going to see. If you could answer that, that would be much appreciated. And the sponsors will also appreciate how much you have enjoyed today. I think, our focus for this year is really going to be around this theme that you saw on the show reel to begin with, and it will show again in a few minutes, about protecting people and consumers. And it's going to be our focus this year. And so starting today in APAC to bring in some regional insights and perspectives is really important as we, seek to collaborate more deeply with regulators and institutions and RegTech companies globally. And having more than 25 countries online today shows the interest and the appetite that there is around RegTech and SupTech, and that certainly bears out in what we've heard on the research. I think what I loved today was the term impatient optimist. I think it describes our association very, very well in our approach. We're really looking to accelerate adoption of RegTech, and we are impatient about that, and we're not saying sorry for that. But I think some of what I heard today was that regulators are going to have this continual need for, high quality data. But we are seeing true transformation happening at a regulatory level, and we heard that from our, regulator online. We are seeing significant philanthropic dollars and investment being made into the world of RegTech and SupTech, which is also very exciting. We also heard from 2 different financial institutions as well about the imperative of RegTech in modern financial services, and also interesting Dimitri's comments around that RegTech is an imperative in places like Singapore, where financial services is absolutely fundamental to their economy. And then finally, it's just what I was saying a few minutes ago. RegTech is so versatile, and we've been able to bring you 3 completely different solutions by some of our RegTech startups to show you that versatility. But the good news is the fun and games doesn't end here. We continue this journey in 2 weeks' time in Sydney. We are running a face-to-face event. We would love to see you there. My team are going to put the links to those events that you can see on this slide in the chat. And we have also opened up registration for this very program, but we're going to run one for UK and Europe on the 19th of June. So if you'd like to dial in for that, please do feel free. And then we will be in person in the UK as well, and there's more beyond. And if you'd like to see more about that, you can go onto our website. So I'm going to sign off for this afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us. Your attendance really means a lot. A lot of people will pick this up by recording. We'll send that out to everybody tomorrow if you want to go back and look at any of it again. And so for now, I'm going to sign off. And the wonderful Nathan and Alison, thank you so much to both of you for being there to support us through the back end. Thank you very much. Please put in a shout out and give a clap to Alison and Nathan, who do a fantastic job in the background. Thank you. And Nathan's going to put on the show reel now to see us out. Thanks very much, everyone.